from the spirits for everybody out there, for anybody who could be feeling lonely or could be feeling lost on your love or healing journey. Um, the spirits out there want you to know that the love that you give yourself is real and valid. So, and to be gentle with yourself. And self love is love. Self love is the way to attract external love. And typical things that we do out of love that we may not realize are acts of self love or self acceptance or self nurturing are things like bathing, washing your hair, hygiene, any act of hygiene, any act of nourishing yourself. Okay, if you are in therapy or if you talk to anyone, these are all acts of self-love. And the spirit world, angels and spirits out there want you to know that these acts are very important in your law of attraction journey. Doing these things allows you to know that there is love in your heart, and it is helps to get you in the vibration of love. So doing acts of self-love help you get into the vibration of love, and it helps change the way that people see you. People are more attracted to people who love themselves because it's very confident and it's very attractive. So if you think you don't have love, you do. You have love every single day that you wake up and that you brush your hair and that you do anything for yourself. These are all acts of love. And because it's true that, you know, what they say, that if you are feeling depressed or out of it, that these acts are so much harder to do. So if you're feeling good about yourself, you know, you're getting new clothes, you're getting your hair cut, you're taking care of yourself, divinity looks down upon those acts very, very highly. These are very important things to do for your vibration and for your law of attraction. So just remember that, you know, every single day. Everything that you do for yourself does help your vibration, does help your frequency, does help you attract love. So, and the more good that you do for yourself, these are all loving acts of kindness. And that's why it's important for us to be gentle with the way that we think about ourselves, because people will view you the way that you view yourself. So if you think that you're ugly or that you're no good, you're going to put that out into the world and people will think that way about you. And there is such a thing as a self-fulfilling prophecy. 100%. So the first act in attracting love is to give yourself that love. And it's probably one of the hardest things that there is to do, because because we live with ourselves every day, and we are going to be the one who is going to also disappoint ourselves the most, because we see ourselves every single day. And so it's a radical act to love yourself, because if you go and you read any self-help book, they're going to tell you all these things that you have to change about yourself, you know. And if you go on social media, there is a lot of talk about beauty enhancements and things like that. And I'm always preaching that those things are not actually acts of love. Those things are telling the world that, you know, a certain part of you isn't good enough. So it's important for you to remember that you are beautiful the way that you are. There is nobody else that you have to be. And the first act of self-love is just kindness. I haven't been on here long, just briefly. I probably won't be on here long. It's just kind of a little reminder for anybody having a hard day, having a hard time loving themselves because they're single. Just remember that it's important. It's an important step in your journey to attracting someone, and that every single little thing that we do is an act of self-love. Just waking up, just getting out of bed. So yeah, it's important. It's important in our love journey. And if you're single, if you've been single for a long time, that doesn't mean that you're not worthy of love at all. And in fact, if you're single because you have been protecting your peace, that is a huge act of self-love. Getting out of relationships that aren't good for you, saying no to people who aren't right for you. It could keep you single for a long, long time, but it's a huge act of self-love, because you'll see people every day who are in relationships that they shouldn't be, and they stay in them, or they wait for someone for a really long time. And so if you've been single a long time, just know that actually could be an act of self-love, to see it that way, to reframe your thought. And every day you have love. So this is an important reminder for you guys out there. Let's get some spirit messages. We'll get some spirit messages. Yeah, it's not always easy to perform acts of self-love, but they don't have to be major. Feeding yourself, thinking positive thoughts, just being nice to yourself. That's it. And like I said, people are attracted to that energy because it's confident. It shows that, no matter what, I'm here for myself. I don't care how long how long you've been single or what, even if you're in a relationship. Acts of self-love, however small they are, change your frequency, change your vibration, and they definitely show a lot of confidence on your end. We have the High Priestess here. An act of self-love is sitting alone reading a book. That simple act is self-love, and it is also raising your vibration. Just sitting reading a book, raising your vibration, but also developing your intuition with the High Priestess there. Learning how to develop your intuition is a huge act of self-love. Yeah, protecting your peace. The High Priestess doesn't say much because she knows a lot. She already knows everything. And I know that a lot of us, talk poorly about ghosting. Sometimes ghosting someone or going no contact is a huge act of self-love. So, and we do have to remember that sometimes when we're going no contact or we're ghosting someone, it's because you're putting up a boundary. Four of Wands. Four of Wands, celebrating yourself. Celebrate your victories. So a good affirmation to do in the morning, or if you're doing scripting prompts for Law of Attraction, you can also journal about your accomplishments, because I think sometimes we get caught up in the things that we don't have, or the things that we want to accomplish, the things that we want to achieve, the people's attention that we want to gain, and we lose sight of our accomplishments. So, and accomplishments don't have to be major. It can be, you know what, I finally cleaned out the fridge. I've been needing to do that for a long time. And that's an act of self-love, but it's also an accomplishment. Six of Swords. A lot of the times we're not happy, or we have a hard time. People who have come out of a chaotic period in their life have a hard time with peace, and they have a hard time with quiet, solitude, and peace. And I feel like we need that for growth, right? And we talk about that all the time in meditation, and in active loving kindness is to just sit in the peace. And you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to be anybody else. You're beautiful as you are. You're beautiful as you are. So enjoying the peace while it happens, because I think that we live in a hustle culture where we're always expected to do all these things, but sometimes just the act of sitting and reading a book, sitting enjoying the peace, that's self-love. That raises your vibrations, and that helps the the collective unconscious. So the collective unconscious is basically everybody's energy put together, and everything that we do contributes to the collective unconscious. So if you're in a state of disharmony, that energy is put out into the world, and the most radical for the collective unconscious is to just be at peace. But I think it's a lot harder to do than it seems. Queen of Swords. Try not to be jaded from the things that you have experienced in life. Cold, hard, and jaded towards yourself. This is like the opposite of self-love, and that energy does push people away. Imagine somebody who wakes up and they say mean things to themselves, and they go out into the world, and because they're hurting inside, they're mean to other people, or they're snippy with other people, or they're just really short with other people. That energy is a repellent, and that's why we say that it is the first thing that you want to do to attract love is to turn that around. Be nice to yourself, be loving to yourself, be kind to yourself, because that's going to change the way that you interact with other people. But if you are kind of bitter and hurt, that energy repels people, because nobody wants to be around someone who's snippy or who is cold, right? You want to be around somebody who's warm and joyous. And that starts with you. That starts with how you treat yourself. The way that you treat yourself is how other people are going to treat you, but also how you treat other people. And you got to ask yourself, like when you wake up and the way that you talk to yourself, would I want to date this person in my head? And if the answer is no, then you can make some changes. Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands comes out with somebody who has maybe had difficult upbringing, maybe who has been through a lot of trauma and has some issues trusting. This could also be somebody who's a little bit of an avoidant here, because they could have grown up in a really difficult household. And this is kind of a reminder to love that inner child. You know, do the inner child work. That really does help attract more positive, loving relationships into your life. We see you. We see that. The Hanged Man. Yeah, thank you, May. I appreciate it. The Hanged Man, Sleeping Beauty. I think that we underestimate the power of sleep. We underestimate the power of rest. We underestimate it. But also the Hanged Man, or in this case, it's the Hanged Woman. It's Sleeping Beauty here. She goes upside down to get a different perspective. And sometimes all it takes to reframe your life is to look at things differently. Look at things differently, get a different perspective, stand on top of the table and look at your apartment from a different view if you have to. Hanged Man. Pay attention to your dreams, because they're telling you something about your subconscious. But I talk about this a lot on my channel about being conscientious, being conscious about your subconscious urges, because if you're not aware that you're actually really bitter, or that you're jaded still, or that you don't enjoy peace, and that is going to rule your life. So if you aren't aware that you start arguments with your friends because you're triggered, then you're going to push people away. That's just an example of somebody who walks around unconscious, or walks around half asleep, unaware of what is driving them, unaware of how they really feel deep down, unaware of their triggers. So you gotta, as they say, be woke. What does it mean to be woke? Means be aware of your subconscious drives, be aware of your triggers, be aware of why you do things and why you attract people the way that you attract them. Ace of Swords, writing prompts. I haven't started my writing prompts, but the first rule and law of attraction is to write it down. This is actually a paintbrush. So some of you guys maybe need to get more in touch with your creative side. That creative expression is really important. But for me, I see that as a pen, and I see it as a writing prompt. The writing prompts actually, because what you're doing is you're scripting the things that you want, but you're also scripting out or writing out the things that are triggers to you, to be aware of it, to be aware of the things that you need to change. Like today, this is just a random example of somebody's trigger. Like today, I was out in the world and someone told me that my jeans look really good on me, and that made me flinch because I thought they made me look fat. So that's an example of why was I triggered by someone giving me a compliment on my jeans. Maybe I could write it out, something like that. So being aware of those things is important, because otherwise they'll dictate your whole life. You could put you in a spiral that you don't need to be in. Temperance. Things come in divine timing. Things come in divine timing, but also this is important to, as I was saying before, about knowing your triggers. It helps you to self-regulate your emotions. Because if you're not regulating your emotions, nobody else can regulate your emotions. If you know how to bring yourself out of a triggered place, if you know how to transmute your anger, it's a very attractive quality, and it's an act of emotional maturity, to be able to regulate your emotions, self-regulate your emotions. And then the Justice card. Always act out of integrity. This is equanimity. And in Buddhism, they talk about equanimity and acting out of integrity and using your right words. Always being fair and just. It's not always fun, because sometimes what it means to be fair and just is to take accountability for your actions. But as they say, you get what you give. So if you're fair and just and accountable, then you're more likely to attract people like that into your circle. Okay, I'm gonna probably just be on here for a few more minutes, and then we'll get out of here. 7 of Pentacles, planting the seeds. This is interesting because right as you're about to give up on something is when it germinates, is when it blooms, is when it happens for you. Because in law of attraction, if you're in this energy of I want it, I need it, that's the repelling energy. You have to be in the energy of I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to come in for me, even though a long time has passed for me. There's also this law of attraction method that involves the cat, because the cat just knows that they're going to get fed. They are just chill. So just be chill and knowing that things are going to come for you. If you've done the work that you need to do to make something happen, because we still have to do some work in making things happen. Like you still have to plant the seeds, you still have to water the seeds, you still have to, if you're like for example, the thing that you want is I want to get a job. Just when you think you're going to give up, I've applied, it's never going to happen for me. That's when it happens. So, and then we have the King of Cups here. The King of Cups and the Temperance, I feel like, are very similar, because the Temperance is like the angel, but it's healing, but it's healing your emotions. And the King of Cups is a similar kind of energy, because it's somebody who's emotionally mature, which I love, that emotional maturity. And 9 of Cups. 9 of Cups is emotional fulfillment. And it's important to remember that you make yourself happy. Nobody else is responsible for your happiness but you. And so just remember, if you want to feel good or happy, do something good or happy for yourself. Go dancing, take a bath, read a book, watch a movie, make yourself some comfort food. Okay, you guys, I'm going to get on out of here, but thank you so much for coming out. I hope this reading elevated your consciousness in some type of way, shape, or form. I'll see y'all later. Bye.